Следващият панел е с наши участници от бизнес компании. Ще поканя при мен модераторът Алекс. Нека да чуем пък дали те имат страхове или имат решения. Какво е тяхното предизвикателство към образователната система и към политиците или към самите тях? Алекс, заповядай.
Здравейте. I'll switch to English because two of our panelists are non-Bulgarian speakers. So good afternoon. It's a pleasure to me to be here. As you heard, I'm Alexandra KOZBUNAROVA actually. I'm the editorial lead of Trending Topics, a very interesting new phenomenon, media, in Central Eastern Europe that is currently based between Austria and Bulgaria. We are exploring the intersection between businesses and technologies, and especially between legacy businesses and how new models and startups affect them. Therefore, I'm delighted to welcome on stage our dear panelists, who are both from the technology side, but also from industries that are yet to be disrupted. So please welcome on stage Mr. Andras Stern, who is the Senior Product Manager of Microsoft in Hungary. He flew all the way from Hungary to be participating in this panel today and brings along 11 years of experience of Microsoft and knows how technology, but also the marketing narrative around AI has developed. Milena Yankulov, who is currently marketing director at Ontotext, a promising Bulgarian AI company. Christoph Bergeron, sorry for that, I cannot pronounce really, who is the general manager of Novotel. He has 25 years of experience in hospitality. This is an industry that will be disrupted very soon or is disrupted already. Mohamed Fakihi, who is the managing director of Kratos Technology, also brings 15 years of experience in technology. And Georgi Markov from Euroins Insurance Group. As you know, insurance is another industry that goes through transformation right now, so it's very interesting to understand what is going on in all these industries, how are they evolving, how technology affects them. And in fact, we had several very good points today, and we talk a lot about how AI will probably automate a lot of jobs, how we can educate people to cope with that, but probably there are some other risks. So our panel is today dedicated to reality checks, and I want to start with the first question to Mr. Fakihi, Mr. Yankulov, and Mr. Stern. Where is actually AI now? Can you give us a brief snapshot?
Yeah, actually, let's begin. Welcome, everybody. I just had some information from different surveys, how we are doing in Central and Eastern Europe. As I'm working and responsible for business applications for more than 30 countries, we have some experience here. And based on this survey, we just realized that actually there is a slight gap between Western Europe and CE, how we are catching up. We surveyed more than 200 companies, and we asked business decision makers and technical decision makers how they are using AI and what kind of project they are planning, and how they are thinking about return on investment and how they will use or how they are seeing the impact of the AI in the near future. And it seems that the countries around us are thinking in 2 to 5 years terms. This is the average. Less than 1/3 of the companies are thinking in a short-term return on investment or impact. And this is totally different in Western Europe. It's more than 70% of the companies who are thinking about impact in 2 years or a short-term time frame. So it's really different. It seems that we have to catch up in this space.
Right, Mr. Fakihi?
Well, this is a tricky question because usually you get as many answers as people you ask about where the AI is. So first, I just want to define a little bit AI because we need to agree on it. So basically, AI is artificial intelligence, so that's making machines intelligent. And it's it has some hype right now, but people started working on this field like more than 50 years ago. I think it started post World War II. And the AI is basically a set of cognitive abilities that you need to implement into a machine so that it can learn by itself and solve problem by itself. It has developed very quickly lately. There is a lot of interest in it. For last year, there are more and more startups working in the AI field. Actually, most of the startups that were created last year are working on artificial intelligence. Most of the funding that comes from venture capital and private equities also go into the artificial intelligence. So it's the right time to go into AI. AI is also solving harder and harder problems for us. Right now, AI is also something that we need to look into pragmatically, because AI in itself is an enabling technology. It's a technology that allows us to do things. It's not something that the end user or the person lambda will use. It's more like electricity or computing or internet, for example. So it is something that we need to look at as a base for building new things. And you can see AI is existing in many places today. The oldest one, of course, is OCR. Like 20 years ago, you put something in a scanner, and it's going to transform a text into real text that you can edit in Microsoft Word, for example. But also now you have a very advanced application to AI. You have self-driving cars, you have image recognition, and therefore face recognition. You can also have very good predictive analytics with AI. Now today, AI can be a better financial analyst than a human. So it's better to give your money to an AI to invest it in the stock market than giving it to a human that can be emotional and so on and so forth. So AI is something that will allow us to do a lot of things, but it's something that is still hard to do, that it is still not very well comprehended by mainstream. So I think that the short answer to your question is it depends.
Depends on what. Good. Mr. Ingo, what's your opinion on that?
I want to upgrade to what Mohammed said and to specify one technical point of, and to include to name drop some technologies to the AI. As Mohammed said, the AI wants to mimic the human AI to mimic the human abilities to act, to sense, and to think. So I'm more from our companies. Our company do stuff in the know part, where semantic technologies, machine learning and deep learning algorithms are applied, but also in the act field, where intelligent agents like chatbots are involved. There are now growing popularity in automation and decision platforms. And to map, just to map what I mean under the sense part of the AI, this is something related with speech recognition, with computer vision, image recognition, video recognition, and stuff like this. So there are a lot of technologies named on the market. And what barrier I can see, many barriers are involved in the organization itself. So many organizations are still not ready to make changes in their structure. And also they don't have, they have a lack of specialists. It's not easy job, it's not a development job to develop AI. It's more statistical, mathematician job, people with background in mathematics. So one of the barriers I can map is organizational changes and human power. So people ready to make technologies that I've mapped just.
Just briefly, if I could ask you, because you also come from media and marketing background. And
But this is secret, right? Not
Sorry.
anymore.
I mean, there is this big marketing hype around AI. Should people be scared? Should businesses be scared?
Scared from AI?
Yeah, like they would lose control on that.
Maybe if they don't govern this from the beginning, maybe they will lose. But this is of course a futuristic job. I can't say I can tell that AI will more or less augment the capabilities of the people, the medias, or organizations.
Okay, great. To build up on what you just said about the barriers, I would ask Mr. Berge. I'm sorry, Christoph.
Bergeron, no, it's okay.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I would ask you, how is hospitality developing in terms of utilization of AI? How do you imagine that in your future business model, but also right now, what is hospitality doing?
For the hospitality, the AI development, it's a big playground. Actually, our main target is to know better our guests, to personalize the service, to personalize all the offer that we are going to propose to our future guests. So the AI is a fantastic opportunity for us to know better, to analyze the habits of our guests and to adapt our services according to that. So we can increase also the loyalty and the attachment to the brand. If the guest is happy by the services, if we are more feeding, which is a request, he's going to feel better and then come back to the brand, come back to the hotel. To multiply also all the contact points. Sometimes in our business, we're having the first contact is almost at the moment where the guest is making the reservation, if he's going through the direct channel. Or if not, it's only when the guest is arriving to an hotel. What we want to do is to interfere with the guest much earlier, even before the guest will think about going somewhere. And that the AI will help us to, from before the reservation, during the stay, and after the stay. So for us, it's a big opportunity for that. So this is for the guest side. On the hotel side, it will help us to have a better reactivity, to propose the better service, to be more accurate when we will go to see the guest, and to personalize all what we are going to do. I mean, we will know the guest before he will know us. And this is very important for us.
So if we have to summarize, AI does for you marketing, remarketing, and the whole customer care, right?
Yes. This is very important. This is very important for us.
Okay. I'll ask you, Georgi. Georgi from Eurowings he has very interesting experience and background because he had a lot to do with startups as well and innovative businesses in his previous careers. But the same question to you. What is right now Eurowings doing with artificial intelligence, and how is this very legacy, I would say, industry innovating?
Generally speaking, we don't look at artificial intelligence or digitalization like aspects and like tools that can replace the people from our industry and our employees. We see them like complementary tools. We see them like augmentation, as our friend mentioned, and we see them as possibilities to offer additional value added, to offer tailored services to our clients. Generally, the penetration rate at the markets where we operate of insurance services is quite low. So we believe that by using new technologies, we can also become closer to the customers and potential customers and be able to offer services that they really need and they really want. And with respect to this, we, for example, see the potential in AI in our underwriting part, in our sales part, where we can offer services, for example, like pay as you drive, or we can better analyze the behavior of our customers or potential customers in order to offer to them insurance products at the prices that really match their needs, so that we don't go with a single uniform price, but we manage to use it for the tools for segmentation. In health insurance, for example, AI can help a lot by looking at the habits and the healthy or unhealthy behavior of individuals, depending on what lifestyle they have, whether they brush their teeth, whether they go to bars too often, whether they go to the cigarette shop too often. So these are all ways and methods to use AI in the business, and this is what we are looking at. Also on fraud prevention side, where by identifying behaviors and certain patterns in the movement of people driving their cars, we can identify points of fraudulent activities. Data analytics is also something that we are trying to benefit the most from AI in our actuarial part and actuarial services. So at the same time, there still remain some points where the human touch is really irreplaceable, and we can use the people and the resources that we save from using AI and technologies in some aspects to relocate them to other aspects where, because our business is based on trust, so it's very important when there is a bad event or a tragic event or something similar, to someone to go to speak to the person and to have face-to-face and eye-to-eye contact. And here we see where better training and better education and putting the stress on soft skills, which many of our salespeople or claims people generally lack, this can improve the overall customer experience. So to conclude, it's all about adding value and increasing the quality of the overall service and experience.
So if we have to summarize all you said, AI is not going to automate that many jobs as people like Elon Musk, who we all know, for example, worry. Like they say 40% of jobs will be automated and low-income workers will be affected tremendously. Seems that you're not in that opinion, so you have chosen the bright side. And in this regard, do you have any practical measures on how our educational system would enhance or compensate for the development of artificial intelligence? What type of talent do we need? How do we need to educate it? And what's the role of the business? We can start with Christoph.
So for us, it will not. Actually, the hospitality doesn't have a good image for the new people to go to work. So I don't think that this kind of technology will help us to make our job even more interesting. Nowadays, for example, if we take a receptionist, part of his job is only administrative, all the tasks, administrative tasks or whatever. Or if we take about the reservation, people are just behind the computer, sometimes we have to work at night and so on, and people are not working that anymore. So for us, the AI will help us to switch a little bit our main task as a human, and to make it more appropriated, more human, in fact, and really to have a clear communication with the guest. And the best way to have this clear communication is to know the people when we are talking to them, when we are in front of them. So I'm not too worried about in our hospitality to cancel some job, even if I know that in Japan they are using some technology, using robots to deliver the room service. Nowadays it's a fact, it's existing. I don't think that this technology will be in every hotel. Some continent, the Asiatic people are more interested by such technology than European people. I'm not sure that tomorrow, if I'm putting a robot in my hotel to serve the room service, that the guests will be happy about it. On the other side, the Accor Hotels Group is developing some technology about the virtual concierge. And now we are using the vocal assistant to make the communication with the guest more easier. I'm going to say easier for the guest, and maybe a person, due to the language barrier, sometimes it's complicated even for our team member to communicate clearly with the guest. Tomorrow, the artificial intelligence will help us, and the guest will feel maybe more confident to ask questions, and then with this question, with this answer, we will be able to welcome and to serve the guest better. So I don't see any problem on the thing. It will just make our job much more interesting and not so fastidious with only filling paper and losing time like that.
Milan, you're smiling all the time. What's your opinion on that? Do you want to build up?
I agree with Christophe. I was smiling about the fact that with artificial intelligence there is more room to be human. And actually having in mind that technologies enabling artificial intelligence are making our routine job easier. In some cases, no human is able to do some stuff to scan millions or billions of documents or to see millions of videos just to find specific scene in specific video. I think that yes, there is more room to be analytical, to be creative, and to ask the right questions, to ask machines the right questions. So in having this in mind, the educational system should grow people with analytical skills. And yeah, I think many universities and schools, they teach the students not to read something or to learn something in mind, but to ask why.
Okay, Georgi, we were talking exactly about scanning documents before the panel. And what's your opinion on where should we support our talent, how to enhance it, to make it ready for what's coming up?
My opinion on scanning documents is generally that it's not the thing of the future if it's done by human beings. But at the same time, we should also keep in mind that the same way like washing machines didn't replace the human, but they just assisted him to do the job easier, the same will be, at least in my view, the purpose of artificial intelligence and technology as such. I don't expect, or at least I don't think business should expect that from the university or the educational institution they should receive a ready-made person that can immediately go and do all the tasks required and all the analytical, would have all the analytical skills. So our job would be, and it is like businesses, to contribute in this education and to show all the practical aspects. We know what are our needs and how we want strategically to move forward in the various operations that we have. So it's a matter of teaching our managers, and it's a matter of creating an environment where within the companies those people can learn and can grow and develop into individuals who have the capacity and who feel free enough and empowered enough in order to work together with the technological tools that we have.
Still, where's the role of the formal education? Mohammed?
Okay, so here I will have to disagree with my colleagues, so someone has to do it. I think that AI and especially automation is going to disrupt a lot of businesses and a lot of industries. We are going into an economic revolution, the same way that mechanization changed agriculture, it changed manufacturing, for example. There will be a huge impact on Western economies because we rely a lot on the service industry. And the service industry is something that can be automated with AI and with RPA and all this machine learning and so on and so on and so forth. So the challenge for the education today is a big challenge, like it's a huge challenge, because at the same time, they will need to address this economic revolution that will happen very fast, because revolutions are faster and faster. But they will also need to prepare the young generations for what will happen 10 years from now, 20 years from now, because people that are going into the universities today are not people that are going to go to the job market tomorrow. They're going to go into the job markets, then they need like 2-3 years before being autonomous. So we need to think a little bit forward about that. So that's for the young generation. But we don't have to forget also about all those people that will need to reinvent themselves when the economic revolution will come. So we need to think about lifelong learning. We need to think about professional education and so on and so forth. This is from an educational perspective. At the same time, we need to think also about different scenarios, how our society will change when this will happen. We need to think about whether we need to stress test our banking system for this. Do we need to change our social security system? Because don't forget that when this will happen, 10 years, 20 years from now, the median age in Europe, for example, will be around 50 years. So people will be closer to retirement than to when they started their job. So maybe we need to also think about the way we look at working. Maybe we don't need to work 8 hours a day. We only need to work 4 hours a day. That's more than enough for a society to be wealthy, happy, and healthier. And the rest can be managed by machines. But of course, we need, as a society, as people, to have the skills to that type of work.
Good. Andrus, Microsoft is working on different initiatives, like from very early stage and from young children to educate them in different ways, to show them technologies and things like that. What's your opinion? Should we be educating children and talent in different way? Where should we start? How is that properly done?
So actually, it's really important as the tech industry has a really big responsibility in this field. Of course, with all the other governments and educational sector together to educate really be prepared to the next era. And Microsoft is somehow, let's form this that way, democratizing AI. So giving access to the knowledge and somehow demystify this kind of buzzwording word, because we have lots of buzzwords around AI, and really bring it to the real world and start building up real plans on it. And for that, we have so many programs. For example, we started AI for Business School, AI for Business. This is not just the basic education, but forming the business decision makers how to build up strategy around AI. It's really important. As I just referring back to the surveys that I got, that the biggest blockers in CE, I mean in Central and Eastern European countries, are not just a data quality issue or understanding technology behind AI, but really have the right vision from the business decision makers. So we have to be clear that we have to build up this kind of knowledge also. And it's up to us, actually. It's not a question what computer can do, but rather what computers should do and how. And we have to build up this kind of knowledge in the education at the basic level, somehow giving the tools to understand the basics of AI, and also giving the tools for the business decision makers, also the government, to make the right choices.
On which stage of the education should that happen for the first time?
Actually, it should be all part of it. So AI will be part of our everyday life in the near future. So we have to put this in every area. So it's not just about focusing on the tech side of the world. So it's also important, beside the tech education, the human part of it, because it's also important to have realize that AI is not just about technology, but it's about inclusion, it's about accessibility, it's about fairness, about ethics. So we have to build up these skills also parallel with the tech tech world. So I really believe that the human science is also taking a big part of it.
Great. Yeah, actually, AI, machine learning, and all those stuff won't change only the labor market and the talent market. They are also affecting us as a society, and this raises a lot of questions regarding the way we are going to live in this environment and our privacy. There is a lot of talk on how machines and robots and bots are tracking us all the time through various multiple devices, and how they can, at one point, how they call it, they can come back to who you are, even though all the information stored is anonymous, but they can de-anonymize it. And that's a threat. When businesses and organizations can track you, actually, and then push all the messages they want to you, or use the information in another way. What's your opinion on the way we should ethically deal with AI as businesses? Milan?
Anders mentioned it just a couple of minutes ago. This should be taught on the schools. It should be taught from the very beginning of the childhood, because concerning the privacy, every should take its own responsibility to be cautious about his privacy, to know, or to understand what data every generates, or what data he sells or shares. So the funniest part, maybe it should be that there is AI-enabled platform built to fight other AI platform who does harm.
Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yes, our company is part of a European-funded project called We Verify, where a consortium of companies are building AI platform for fact-checking, for fighting the fake news, and fake news are easier done with AI technology. So we're building AI platform to fight another AI product.
Oh, that's interesting. And Andros?
It's really important to have this part of this story. I mean, ethics, transparency is also part of this conversation, and Microsoft is really embracing this, and we are generating discussions around this, because it's important. It's not just about the tech sector. We have to have discussions with government and how to set up the basic rules before AI is coming mainstream. We have to build up our systems. What should computer do and what not? And where are the barriers? Where are the ethical rules? And it should be agreed in the near future. I strongly believe that we have to have serious discussions around these topics.
It's especially interesting when it comes to customer-oriented businesses like insurance. What do you think, Georgi?
Yeah.
Jen, what I would say is that as long as there is data, and as long as you can benefit out of it, there would always be someone to try to abuse it. So the question is, who should try to regulate it? As Milan said, maybe it should be a self-purging mechanism within AI and within this automated technology that can control itself. At the same time, it should also be the role of the governments and of the regulatory bodies to do something with respect to it and to this, and to control it. But as far as a person is not conscious himself or herself what information they share and what this information can be used for, then I think no one can help them. And even something like GDPR, for example, you can agree to a set of terms and conditions that you didn't even read, or you can sign a piece of paper that again you don't have time to read, but and it would take off the liability from the business in a way, but does it really help the consumer? Does it really help the society? I'm not so sure about it. So it's a matter of, again, people understanding what this information can be used for and what the usage can cause.
Still, what's the responsibility of businesses that utilize that data?
The responsibility of business is to be ethical and to be a fair player in all of this. And here it's the role of also corporate social responsibility from one aspect, but also raising the awareness of people that their business counterparty should be a fair player also, not just someone whose product you buy and whose service you benefit from.
Okay, Mohammed, what do you think about that?
Well, the privacy issue is not just for the AI, it's for anything related to internet-based communication. And today, nowadays, it's a trade-off. If you want a good customer experience, like Christoph was saying, if you want something that's personalized to you, you need to give up your personal data. The important thing here, in addition to regulation, of course, there will be abusers, so there must be laws to actually punish the abusers. There needs to be transparency. You know, when I give my personal data, I want to give it willingly. I want to know what it's stored and what you're doing with it. And after that, it's my personal choice whether I'm giving you my personal data or not. So as long as we stay within this framework, I think it's okay. It's a win-win situation for everyone. And there's also a need to specify what type of personal data we're talking about. Because there is personal data and personal data. There is sensitive data that can be abused, like as Georgi mentioned. I don't want my insurer to know how often I'm going above the speed limit, for example, or how many cigarettes I smoke a day. Because they might abuse it and raise my premium.
It's not an abuse.
It's not abuse. Okay. So these type of things, we need to be very conscious about it, and we need to find the right middle. And of course, the civil society needs to be implicated in this thing, but also the lawmakers. And that's the only way you can regulate this type of activities.
Christoph?
For the hospitality, the protection of the private data, it's one of the main points. It's not new for us. When the guest is coming to one of our hotels, we are discovering a part of his private life. And it was always the objective to protect this part. Now, like said Mohamed, we are collecting a lot of data to better serve the guests. For example, Accor Hotel has implemented a program where we can share the different preferences of the guests all around the world between all our hotels. But it doesn't mean that we can enter any kind of data. It means we have a system which is checking each guest to make sure that we are not entering data which will affect the health of the guest, the religion of the guest, or any private items. I will take an example. For example, we cannot say that a guest is allergic to. Allergic to something for us is mean that we are talking about the health of the guest, and that we are not allowed to do that. We will say prefer a product without milk. That we can do it. It's different than allergic to. So the group is really taking care of that. Plus, we have some law like GDPR, which were implemented, where we have to respect few rules. And like I said, Mohamed, the thing is to be clear with the guest. At any time, a guest can, I'm going to talk for my company, can make the request to have the data that we have about himself. And we are obliged to give it to him, and if he wants to cancel some of the data, which are already checked to make sure that we will not affect his private life, he's allowed to do it, and our service will act automatically. So for us, it's ethical because that will make the reputation of one group or can destroy the group. Imagine that if some of the guests start to say that any kind of hotel chain share the data with everybody or don't respect any ethical charter, the group is dead. The guests will not come anymore to the hotel. So for us, it's crucial to respect all that, and yeah, we guarantee a maximum security and transparencies with our guests.
To what extent it's all a matter of the philosophy with which a system is built, and to what extent is the vulnerability of the technology itself, Andrus?
Actually, it's connected. So, for example, Microsoft has really taking seriously this privacy, security, and also leading this area. And for example, we will start also implement ethical review before a new product or service will be launched. So it's really part of the DNA of the company that these kind of topics are embedded. So if you are thinking about new products with embedded AI capabilities, we have to take care about the ethical factors also with the design. So it's really part of the industry, and we have to drive innovation based on these basic rules.
Okay. Well, as we're having this challenging and reality check panel today, I would ask for one last answer from each of you, and this would be an answer in one sentence to the question: which are the most significant hidden risks that we probably haven't mentioned, and the biggest hidden opportunities, probably also not mentioned, that AI brings along? Christoph?
The biggest hidden thing is to stop the human touch in our business. I think really the guest wants to have this human touch, and we have to keep it. So the biggest negative part will be if some groups start to use this technology to remove the people, to remove the interaction, the human interaction. And on the opposite side, the positive part is to increase this interaction and to be more precise. When you know the people, when you are talking to them, when you know their preferences and so on, you can act accordingly. You can be very accurate on what you are going to propose and what you are going to say. So this is the two parts for the hospitality industry, I think, in my opinion.
Okay, Mohammed?
Well, for the risks, I think, like Christoph said, we need to be very careful about where we use AI and how to use it, not to dehumanize our society. We already seen this with internet, like people are already stuck on their smartphones instead of having a normal conversation. AI can exacerbate that, so we need to be very careful about that. But on the other hand, I think that there is more upside to AI than downside. It can actually change our society to a better society. We can be happier, healthier, wealthier with AI. And if it goes the right way and it's regulated properly, it can also help us to go to a more equitable society. So we can implement things like less work hours. We can implement a universal basic income so that people don't have to work just to survive. So then work can be more of a personal fulfillment than just putting food on the table.
Okay, Georg?
Hidden risks generally is something that in insurance industry we don't like too much. So whenever there is a risk, we need to assess it and we need to evaluate it. So the same would be also with artificial intelligence. If it's a risk, if there is a risk somewhere, we have to have the people to be able to estimate this risk and to give it a proper valuation. The hidden opportunities, I think it was mentioned enough also by the colleagues. It's generally we speak about a lot of added value, mostly possibilities for empowering the people and giving them more time to concentrate on more meaningful activities. But here again, we have to weight this very properly and to know when we speak, for example, of universal basic income, then we have to consider all other risks, like, for example, overconsumption and people who stay home and don't do anything but receive money, and at the same time they spend on various things that destroy the nature, let's say. It will take a lot of analysis, and many questions need to be answered before we are really ready, like a global society, I think, in order to fully integrate AI into the business and social models.
Okay. Andros?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the most important part is not losing the human side of the technology. I see a lot of opportunities. If I'm thinking about local or regional opportunities, then I just thinking about or 1 million developers in the region only who can be expert on AI and build up new solutions, or the 25,000 partners who are active here in the region and can build up really services based on AI and build up a totally new economy around this. And this is one of the biggest opportunity for Central and Eastern Europe, I guess, based on technology. And Microsoft is giving a lot of tools to embrace this opportunity. If we are talking about the global opportunity, then yeah, AI for Earth. We have so many challenges where AI can help, AI for health or for humanity, just to prepare for catastrophes. And so we are using the technology to solve big issues, and these are the opportunities for us where we can solve in the near future really big issues.
Milan?
Hidden risk. One hidden risk could be state to take over the AI technology so good built that to dominate the world. Hidden risk could be also to find motivation, to motivate the people to work, because if they start working 2-3 hours per day, if they became more rich, they will lose their motivation to work. So, and if everything is if everything is built around the machines, I'm frightened to wake up one morning and to see a world ruled by machines. So this is very, again, distant from now on.
And what's the solution to that from your point of view?
I don't know. I can't tell you now. And yes, the opportunities are quite a lot. To live longer, to find cure for cancer, for AIDS, and to be more creative as person, to be more human.
I just want to ask, I'm not sure, Mohammed or Georgi, one of you was talking about the basic income.
Mohammed?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's your opinion on what Milan just said?
No, it's a philosophical question. Like, I don't think that if people work less, they're becoming more lazy. Like, that they maybe will have a more fulfilled. Yeah. It's different from people. It also depends on the society you live in. On the other hand, if you work less and make more money, you're going to spend more. So, as a group, as a society, this might be a good thing for growth. But no one can be sure what's going to happen before it happens. So I think that's where we have to wait and see.
Okay. As the time is up, we'll have to wrap this panel up. I'm very grateful for your presence. I think we just scratched the surface. But if anyone's willing to further ask questions and chat, outside the lunch is the perfect time. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And hope to have fruitful discussions also outside.
Thank you all. Thank you, Alex. Thank you for all. And we'll start 2:50.